with. Welcome to the village. Welcome, everyone. Listen, I'm excited to have this opportunity to welcome our guests. But before I do, let me tell you, we're going to talk about fitness, healthy eating habits. We're going to talk about being intentional about our physical, emotional, and mental health. That's right. We're talking about how to combat teacher burnout, distress, these feelings of being overwhelmed, and just all of the things that we've been talking about lately dealing with this pandemic. But bottom line, we're talking about wellness. That's right. We want our teachers to be fit, to be healthy, to be mentally strong so that they can go in the classrooms and teach our scholars, right? So join the village, join our discussion as we talk about wellness. Just right. We want our teachers, our educators to be physically, emotionally, and mentally whole and strong and fit for our scholars. So again, join the village. Join our discussion today. I'm your girl, Dr. Roz, CEO and founder of the Village Leadership Group, LLC. Well, you might be thinking, well, what's the village? We are a community of teachers and educators and coaches coming together to inspire, to motivate, and encourage teachers. I'm a coach, life coach, leadership coach, and it's all about helping teachers to leverage their strengths, sharpen their tools, and reignite their passion for teaching and learning. So that's what we're about. So join the village, join our discussion. Now, again today, we have a guest, so that's why I'm so pumped because I've been feeling a little stressed. We talked about that right before Thanksgiving break about how all of our teachers are feeling a little burnt out. But good news. There's always strategies that can inspire us, to encourage us, to motivate us. So I looked within the village and I found someone who can help us and give us some tips. So we're going to talk to our expert who's all about wellness. So help me welcome to the village, Miss Tiffany Williams. Welcome to the village.
Thank you, Dr. Roz. Hello, everyone.
Welcome. Listen, I need your tips. I need your advice. Help me. Look.
Listen, we all in this together.
Right.
Yes.
So before you give your tips and your advice, tell the village, like, who's Tiffany Williams?
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Tiffany Williams, and I'm still look, Dr. Roz, I'm still getting adapted to my new name. I got married during the pandemic. And so,
congratulations.
So some people may know me as Tiffany Kelly. So I respond to both. They both are me. And so I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I live in the Metro Atlanta area. I've been in the Metro Atlanta area for about 16 and a half years now. I'm an almost 21-year educator with the last 11 years in academic instructional coaching. And I have a love for helping educators to my day job and even in my company. And so I basically have been immersed in business probably all my life. My father basically had several businesses growing up, and I ran business from like a very young age, from laundromats to dry cleaners, catering hall, real estate property. And so it's in my blood. And so I love helping people and seeing especially educators win. How I got started in the wellness space was I had my own journey. I used to be 260 plus pounds and struggled with my health, high blood pressure, anxiety, emotional eating, depression. And it was a couple of years back coming from a science conference, actually. And I just made a decision that day after a story that was shared by a colleague that I didn't want to die. I was like, I'm too young. I said, I got too much more to do.
Right.
I want to be here for whatever God has for me. And so I made a decision that day when I got off that plane. I was like, I'm going to do something different. And so my journey began. And so after being successful and losing over 80 pounds naturally, I basically started helping other women. So I started having coaching sessions with women, which started with a lot of educators, actually. And so I taught fitness classes for about 2.5 years under my trainer. at the time, and then ended up launching a coaching business for women. And then from there, a couple of years later, I really got into the wellness space with educators as an academic coach when teachers would come to my sessions for, like lesson debriefs. And we're having wellness sessions, basically, oh, Tiffany, I'm stressed. This is going on and blah, blah. And then I'm having conversation around healthy foods and being more physically fit. And, a lot of teachers watched my journey. They watched me transform. So they knew that I was the truth, basically. And so from there, I basically started really, having those conversations at work informally. But in 2014, my principal, who was like a second mother to me, passed away due to conjunctive heart failure. And it really was because she dedicated so much of her life to the school that she didn't take care of self. And
like so many of us, right?
And what's so crazy, Dr. Roz, is that she had just retired. She didn't enjoy a full 8 months of retirement. She gave the school district almost 35 years to die and not even enjoy her retirement. And I basically went to the hospital every single day when they said that, she wasn't going to make it, that it was only days. And just to watch her pass away was really hard for me. And so the couple and a lot of other life things happened after that. But in 2017, I was sent home by my doctor on bed rest because I was not doing well as far as physically. Like my pressure was high. I was, struggling with anxiety again. But I was basically going through burnout. And so while I was home, it's like sometimes we go through stuff. It's not necessarily for us. It's for the people who God has assigned to us. And so it was in that FitTeach was born. And so FitTeach became my new company that I was based on a mission to help other educators get well. So as I got well, it was on an assignment to now do something about it.
Awesome.
And so over the last couple of years, I've been really doing a lot in my school and doing conferences. And now this year, I have had a big breakthrough where now a lot of schools are looking to have me come to their districts to do workshops. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, don't give it all away just yet, because we're going to go over some of your tips, but I don't want you to give away all of your tips and advice because we're going to do a part 2 on Thursday. So again, we're going to dig into some of the strategies that you have to share. But again, I want to tell the village, you want to tune in on Thursday because she's going to really dig in. Now, listen, I want us to talk about the importance of being intentional, right? When you're talking about being on this journey, being on this wellness journey, you have to be intentional. You can't just keep doing the same old and thinking that you're going to feel better, that things are going to get better, right? You have to be intentional. So, with you, things happen when you got to a place where you had no choice, right? So talk to us about the importance of being intentional about your physical, emotional, and mental health, because that's something we talk about so much within the village.
Absolutely. So, well, first of all, with being intentional about your social, emotional, mental, physical, spiritual wellness is self-care as a whole, as a definition. It's basically intentional actions and steps that you're taking daily, not once in a blue moon. It's every day, so that you stay well. So the importance of doing that is because if basically you can't pour from an empty cup. So what happens is if you don't take care of those what I call the 6 pillars of self-care, basically you already headed for burnout. You're not going to be able to give to other people. You're not going to be able to be here for yourself first and foremost. And so that's why it's so important that it's not something that necessarily it's perfected overnight. It's daily intentional things that we do to ensure that we're going to be well so we can carry out our assignments, because everybody has an assignment.
Amen. That is so important. You have to take care of yourself. So like you said, so many teachers, we want to pour out and give our all to our work, to our jobs, even to our families, and we don't have that balance where we're taking care of ourselves, right? So that is so important. So I heard you say, the 6 pillars. So I want you to just give us a little bit of some of the things that you share with your clients when you're helping them along their journey to wellness.
Well, one of the first things, like my signature workshop that I'm actually delivered at the NAPSE conference, the National Alliance of Black School Educators, phenomenal conference, and the workshop was packed. And the title of that workshop is called "Put Your Oxygen Mask On First Before You Serve Others." So I always say that you got to put your oxygen mask on first. The oxygen mask, and for what in my company and what I do, are those 6 pillars. And so the 6 pillars are physical self-care, emotional self-care, mental self-care, mental self-care, social self-care, and I added a 6th one recently, financial self-care.
I know, yes.
Mm-hmm. Because so important. Alone, when we don't take care of that, we messed up too.
Right.
All messed up on all the other pillars. And so, but one of the main ones that I always touch on, like we talked about today about the fitness piece, that is our physical self-care. So, that's the one that I know we're going to discuss right now. But I will, as we go along, there are some that we're going to touch on, because what I was trying to help people understand that it's not going to be perfect. Like I shared at the conference, you want to take one at least one to work on, or a few at a time. Sometimes we want to do it all. We can't do it all at one time, but it's getting one in order, and then picking some from each one to work on. Like when I help clients to create their self-care plans, and the self-care plan, the FitTeach self-care plan, is all about picking things that you can do in each one of those pillars to help you become or remain that well educator.
Love it. And one of the things that you say often, talk about self-care, that is not an option, right? And you have to choose you. So that is something I love. So, kind of give us a little bit more of that.
Because, we as educators, we educate children. And a lot of educators, they have children themselves, their mothers. In my case, I'm an auntie. And so we're used to being caretakers. We take care of little people. In my case, I work elementary. In some cases, people are, if you're 12th grade, middle school, whatever. But a lot of times we put other people before us, and we make our self-care becomes the option. Oh, I'll get to it. And we no longer can do that, because what's happening, especially since this pandemic, there are a lot of educators whose health is suffering, because even during the pandemic, their inability to separate school and personal, and they're trying to do everything with work, and they're basically overriding their own needs. We can no longer do that, because what's happening is affecting our health. And so when I say self-care is not an option, you don't have an option anymore not to take care of yourself, because you won't be here. If the pandemic hasn't taught us anything else, that our health is valuable, right, and that we could be gone in a minute, you don't have an option anymore not to choose you. You don't have an option anymore not to get up from your desk and go home. You don't have an option anymore to not say no. The answer is no. You don't have an option anymore to let something stress you out to the point that you can't get out your bed in the morning. So that means you're not serving yourself, you're not serving your kids, you're not serving your students, you can't do anything. It makes no sense. And so one of the things that I work on with clients is helping them to understand that you are important to yourself. You are needed for yourself first and foremost, and then everybody else. And a love of self, a deep self-love is so important, because when we develop that, then we understand that, guess what? I can't do this right now because I'm choosing me. I'm choosing to take care of me first. And that's where I'm at, period.
I love it.
There's no negotiation, Dr. Roz.
And you said the word no. That's one of my favorite words that I had to learn.
Me too.
Because that is something that I did not know how to do. I was a people pleaser. Yes. Saying yes to everything. But this pandemic has taught me how to say no.
Absolutely. And even for myself, last year during the pandemic, I was down for a while. And during that time, I sat in my prayer room. I was with tears in my eyes. I was like, God, I just know that the reason why I'm not well is because you are sitting me down because you're trying to grab my attention because there's something else for me to do. There's something deeper. And I said, I know it's not for me. It's for the people that you have assigned to me. Because
Amen.
the year before, my father died. My father died on Father's Day in 2019.
Wow.
And I was the person in the room with him.
Wow.
And I was the daddy's girl. I'm his number one, his ace boon coon, his right-hand girl. And to see slip away in front of me was traumatic by itself. But what do?
Wow.
We're superheroes, right? So we're like, oh, I'm good. And then 6 months later, I'm not good. And
Right.
that's exactly what happened. And then followed by that, the pandemic hit. So now I'm dealing with depression again. Now I'm back to almost burnout. I was diagnosed last year with adrenal fatigue. So when adrenal fatigue happens, that's basically, and a lot of us as educators probably have that and don't know it. It takes us, certain blood work and certain doctors to look for that. And, I ended up basically being basically on my couch for a couple of weeks, like not really being able to exercise and do things because my adrenal glands were shot. But in that time, I was able to understand that my self-care was about to go deeper than I had ever experienced before. But it was also to allow me to now have a new message for educators. Because, I was still serving Dr. Ra. I was still getting on Zoom calls,
right.
with as an academic coach supporting, even though I still maintained my boundaries. Because a lot of times during the pandemic, a lot of my educator friends or colleagues, they were struggling with the boundaries, separating school and home in the same place during the pandemic, teaching virtually. And so even though I wasn't feeling my best, I was still pushing to maintain separating school, home. At certain time, computer gets shut down. I get up from my laptop and I go take care of my personal stuff. Or I'm eating lunch. I'm going to go sit out on my deck. I'm not going to sit at my desk. I'm going to sit and watch a little bit of TV and enjoy my lunch and then come back to my desk. But those are things that sometimes they have to be learned because people are not used to, being able to separate or creating the boundaries.
Wow. And I'm checking some of the comments. So hello to the school principal, Josh Tovar. One of the folks that I look up to, always sharing great advice. Coach Williams has joined us, so thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're talking to fitness and wellness coach and expert, Tiffany Williams. She's also an educator, and she founded FitTeach, let me get it right, which is all about helping teachers also, along their journey to wellness. So again, this is part one, and our discussion will continue on Thursday, where we continue to learn more about what we can do to fight against teacher burnout, right? And it's not just for teachers. We have principal burnout. We have bus driver burnout, cafeteria worker burnout. Our paraeducators are burning out, so we have so many educators right now who are feeling stressed and overwhelmed. And some of them, unfortunately, are quitting. They're leaving the profession, right? Or they're just so stressed out that they can't even work because, they've gone through so much during this pandemic and they're just tired and stressed out. So we want to figure out ways and strategies to encourage one another, right? So that's why I had to look within the village, right? And find someone who can pour into us and give us some tips. I know I'm not the only one who, kind of stressed, right? So help me out. If you have some great strategies and tips, please share within the village. That's why we're the village. It takes a village. Absolutely. So we need to come together and to share. So again, let's talk a little bit, give them one or two more tips, and then we're going to save the rest for part two. All right.
One of the things I want to definitely share, absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned the leaders, because when I did the workshop at the conference, a lot of leaders came up to me and said, hey, I need you to come and do this workshop for my leadership team or my leadership cabinet, from superintendents to principals, to executive directors, because they understand that it has to come from the top down. Right. Because there are things that are being put in place that are being pushed down to the teachers in the classroom, But if we do some changes on the top, it will also ease some of the stress that the teachers in the classroom are feeling. But one of the things I do want to share as far as tips in terms of wellness and fitness on the exercise end of it, a lot of times, when it comes to exercise, some of us have be like, oh, I ain't got time for that. But that's what you have to make time, because if you don't make time for your health and wellness, you will be sat down. You're gonna be forced to make time. And so one of the things that I do want to share is definitely when it comes to the exercise piece. And this is someone who used to be a plus size girl. I went through my whole weight loss journey as a classroom teacher. And one of the things that I had to do first was to change my mindset. I had to first make up my mind that I want this for me. I want to make a change because I want to be here. The second thing I had to also do is to be realistic and create realistic goals. A lot of times we create these crazy goals like I'm gonna lose 25 pounds in a month and I'm gonna do something, and we go hard and then it's overwhelming. I see was that Principal Tover? Yes. He works out 5 times a week. But before we get to that point, because that's what happens with some people in the beginning, they start, I'm gonna hit the gym hard 5 days a week, and then by week number 2, they down. So you have to ease yourself into this new lifestyle. So I want to encourage anyone who's just starting to ease your way into the lifestyle. When I first started, I started going to the gym to just get on the treadmill and start walking. I started 3 times a week. If you're in terms of food, like meal prepping, sometimes back in the day when I was coaching, started my first coaching program for women, I would push the women to, get their meals prepped and all that stuff for the whole 5 days. But now I'm looking at it a little differently because that became overwhelming to someone who's just starting out. Right. So what I encourage people to do now is if you can't prep for 5 days, start with 2 or 3. You got to start somewhere. The biggest thing is to get started. 2 or 3 days that you prep your meals. And if you can, I like what he said, your body will put you in timeout. Absolutely. and then also incorporate some walking. I sometimes walk at lunchtime around the school building. When I have maybe a 30-minute break. I will walk around the building. Maybe it was 1 or 2 times. Or before the pandemic happened, I used to walk my school inside the school halls because it was cold after a while. And so sometimes I would go and walk the school halls. I had a whole routine, a whole circle around the building. And I would do that while kids were still in after school program. And that was a way for me to get fitness time in. But also I was serving as an example, not only to my colleagues, but also to the students, that wellness is important. And so we're talking about basically keeping it simple. Start out with 2 or 3 days of walking. We're talking about trying to prep a healthy meal 2 or 3 times a week. I didn't even share this, but even if you need some ideas, I have a whole cookbook out there, healthy lifestyle cookbook that I published last year, cookinghealthywithtiffany.com. But anyway, I digress. Little shameless plug. The other thing is I want to encourage people to get an accountability partner.
Yes. So
someone who you can link up with, who you either share your goals with, who's going to hold you accountable, or someone who you may can walk with, someone who you may even can like prep meals with, and you all keep each other, held accountable. And also just keeping it simple. Don't overwhelm yourself when you're first starting out. So choose a couple of days. Let's recap. Choose a couple of days that you're gonna maybe start walking. 2, find you some healthy recipes. Start cooking a couple of meals. If you're someone who say, "Girl, I don't cook," then how about finding you a meal prep service in your area that can help you begin that journey? And definitely getting you someone who can be your accountability partner. Even for me, I have an accountability partner. She's my neighbor. We walk and we also work out together. And this week we actually went grocery shopping together. And so that's how you stay accountable to your goals. And it begins the process, because exercise especially is good for stress relief. It's a good stress reliever. It's good for it helps you promotes good sleep. It definitely helps with weight loss if you're trying to lose some pounds, and also improves your mood and give you more energy to deal with your students. You can't go wrong. And so And so those are just some of a few of the things that I would definitely share. They have helped me on my journey. I don't just tell you all this. I've lived this and I'm still living it. I used to be 80 plus pounds. For those of you who are just tuning in, 80 plus pounds. And when I started my journey, I was a classroom teacher. And it was funny because my students actually was helping to keep me accountable. They were like, "Student Miss Kelly, should you be eating that?" Like, so
Oh, they will call you out.
they will call you out. So
Right.
those are some of the things that I do want to share to help, get people started. Your fitness plan has to be doable. If it's
Definitely.
not doable, it will not be maintained. It will not
I
be
love
maintained.
it. I love it. Well, don't give it all away. Again, part 2 is this Thursday. So you guys have to tune in again while we continue our discussion with our FitTeach expert, Tiffany Williams. Again, thank you for joining the village so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. So again, guys, that was just part 1. Oh, we're going to continue our discussion. And so you guys have to tune in on Thursday where we're going to continue talking about our 6 pillars of wellness. That's right. Our FitTeach expert share with us the 6 pillars, and we're going to dig into that and give more strategies, more advice so that we can, fight against teacher burnout, principal burnout, all our educators need to be inspired, encouraged, and have the strength to get to June, right? It's only November and we need to get all the way to June. So let's encourage and uplift one another, right? Let's fight against burnout and take care of ourselves. It's all about wellness and self care and self love. Continue to follow The Village on Facebook and Instagram at The Village LG. And again, don't forget, teacher leadership is a mindset, not a position. See you next time.